$80. That is what a single load of bagged sand cost you last spring, and your lawn is still as bumpy as the day you spread it. You are out there on a quiet Saturday morning, coffee in hand, mower humming, and you hit that same low spot near the patio. The mower scalps it, brown patch, again, and right there in the garden aisle, some friendly floor associate told you sand was the answer, that sand was the secret the pros use, that you just needed a few bags and a level lawn was yours. He was wrong. Not lying, just repeating what everybody repeats. And here's the part that stings. You did everything you were told. You bought the sand. You spread it on a hot afternoon until your back ached. You watered it in, and by the next mow, the dips were back, the high spots were back, and that one swampy corner by the downspout was somehow worse than before. Year after year, same dips, same scalping, same wasted weekend, same $40 or $80 gone, and nothing actually changes beneath your feet. So let me be very clear about what is really going on. Most people grab pure sand because it is cheap and it pours easily, but actually sand alone is one of the fastest ways to wreck the soil under your grass. Most people dump it thick in the low spots in one go, thinking more is better, but actually you are smothering the very grass you are trying to save, and most people do it at completely the wrong time of year, which is why the lawn never knits back together. In the next few minutes, I am going to show you two things. First, why sand fails mechanically, what it actually does to the living soil under your lawn, and the correct material to use instead, measured out exactly. Second, the real step-by-step method for leveling, from the smallest dip to the worst rolling mess, the way a groundskeeper would do it. And then at the very end, I am going to give you the one prevention move that stops the bumps from ever coming back. The single approach this entire video was built around, and I am not going to name it until we get there, because once you hear it, you will not need to watch another leveling video again. But before any of that, let me ask you one question that is going to bother you. If sand drains so well, like everyone says, then why does your sandy patch dry out and go yellow faster than the rest of the lawn in July? Hold that thought. Because the answer is the whole reason sand betrays you. Which brings me to part one, the most common version of this problem, the shallow dips and the scalping, because this is the one that ruins more Saturdays than anything else. This matters first because it is the cheapest mistake to make and the most expensive to undo if you get it wrong. Here is what you instinctively do. You see a low spot. You see bare, scalped grass where the mower blade caught the high edge, and your brain says, fill the hole, level it up, and the obvious filler in the store is a 50-pound bag of play sand for under $5. It feels logical. It feels satisfying to pour it in and rake it flat. The surface looks perfect for about a week. Now here is what is actually happening beneath your feet. Your topsoil is not just dirt. It is a living sponge made of clay particles, silt, decayed organic matter, and tiny air pockets, and that sponge is what holds both water and nutrients around the roots of your grass. Sand particles are large, round, and chemically dead. They hold almost no water and almost no nutrients. When you layer pure sand over living soil, you create two separate layers that refuse to bond. Water hits the sand, races straight through, and then slams into the denser soil underneath and stops dead. That boundary is called a perched water table, and it means your roots either drown in the wet layer or starve in the dry sand on top. That is why your sandy patch goes yellow in July. It is not draining better. It is holding nothing at all. So here is the reframe, and I want you to repeat this to your neighbor over the fence. Sand does not level your lawn. Sand starves it. Now let me give you the right material from the simplest fix to the most advanced. For a shallow dip, anything less than about an inch deep, the simplest answer is a top dressing mix that is roughly 60% screen topsoil and 40% compost. That compost feeds the soil biology, so the new layer actually fuses with the old one instead of floating on top of it. You spread it no thicker than half an inch in a single pass, you rake it level, and you let the grass blades poke through. The rule that groundskeepers live by is simple. Never bury more than 1/3 of the grass blade at one time. Bury more than that, and you block photosynthesis, the grass yellows, and the spot you were trying to fix becomes a dead patch instead. For a slightly deeper dip, up to 2 inches, you do the exact same thing, but you do it in layers across 2 or 3 weeks. Half an inch, let the grass grow up through it, mow once, then another half inch. It feels slow. It is slow. But it is the difference between a lawn that knits back together in a month and a bald spot that sits there brown until next year. And if you want the professional grade material, what the sports field crews use is called sandy loam top dressing, which is a pre-blended mix of fine sand, silt, and organic matter in balanced proportions. Notice the word blend. The sand is in there, but it is bound into a soil structure, not poured on raw. A pallet of bagged sandy loam top dressing runs you somewhere between $200 and $300, depending on where you live. But for a small lawn, you rarely need a full pallet. Now, let me make the stakes physical, because this is what you actually stand to lose. Get this wrong with raw sand, and you do not just waste the $80. You waste the entire growing season. That smothered grass takes 6 to 8 weeks to regrow, if it regrows at all, and the bare patch you created becomes an open invitation for crabgrass and weeds, which means next spring you are not leveling anymore. You are fighting an infestation. You started yourself. You pay twice. Once for the sand, and again for the repair. So here is your universal prevention tip for part 1. Before you spread a single thing, water the area and walk it the next morning. The spots that stay soft and wet are low spots that need filling. The spots that dry first are high spots. You can simply shave down with the mower instead of filling at all. Half the leveling people attempt is unnecessary. You can fix it with a blade, not a bag. And look, if this is exactly the kind of thing nobody tells you in the garden aisle, do me one favor and tap subscribe. That is the whole point of this channel. The stuff the floor associate skips, one tap, and let me get straight back to it. And if you want to go even deeper on this, the exact soil blends, the seasonal timing, and the traditional methods that serious lawn keepers have used for generations, I want to tell you about something I put together specifically for this. I wrote a series of field guides called the Amish Lawn Guide, the Amish Soil Guide, and the Complete Amish Yard Field Edition. And together they lay out every blend ratio, every seasonal schedule, and every soil reading technique in plain step-by-step language you can take straight outside with you. The full collection is available for $97, and the link is in the description below. Thousands of people have used these guides to stop guessing and start getting consistent results from the ground up. But let's get back to the real step-by-step work, because part 2 is a completely different animal, and this is where most people really lose the war. Part 1 was shallow dips. Part 2 is the rolling, uneven, wave-like lawn, the big undulations and the sunken trenches. And this is a structural problem, not a surface one. The methods are different, the materials are different, and the mistake here costs you months, not weeks. Here is the thesis. If your whole lawn rolls like a choppy sea, the problem is almost never the surface. It is what is happening underneath. And here is the universal mistake. People try to fix a deep, structural unevenness by top dressing over and over, adding layer after layer of soil to chase the dips. But if the cause underneath is still active, you are just feeding a problem that keeps moving. The catastrophic version of this is when the real cause is a settling trench, a drainage channel, or worse, tree roots and decaying material under the surface. You can top dress that lawn 5 times and it will sink right back every single time because you never addressed why it is sinking. That is the consequence that takes months to undo. So before you fix the surface, you diagnose the cause. Let me give you the methods. Cheapest and simplest first. Method 1 is the roll and top dress combo. And this is your floor, your starting point for a lawn that is gently uneven but structurally sound. After a good rain, when the soil is soft but not soaking, you take a hollow lawn roller, the kind you fill with water, and you roll the lawn once to gently press the high humps down. You do not crush it flat, you just settle it. Then you top dress the remaining dips with that 60-40 topsoil and compost mix, no more than half an inch at a time. This works because soft soil is plastic, it moves under even pressure, and the light top dressing fills only what is left. A water-fillable roller costs around $40 to $60, and you will use it for years. Method 2 is core aeration followed by top dressing, and this is the step up, the one that fixes unevenness caused by compaction. Here is the mechanism, because this is the part nobody explains. When soil gets compacted, usually from foot traffic, heavy clay, or years of mowing the same pattern, it settles unevenly and the grass roots cannot push deep, so the surface stays lumpy and weak. A core aerator pulls thousands of small plugs of soil out of the ground, 2 to 3 inches deep, and those open channels let your top dressing fall down into the root zone instead of just sitting on top. You aerate first, then you spread your topsoil and compost blend, then you drag it with a leveling rake so the mix fills both the holes and the dips at the same time. You rent a powered core aerator for around $60 to $80 for a half day, and on a typical quarter-acre lawn, the whole job takes one morning. Do this in early autumn, in September or October, or in spring once the soil has warmed, never in the dead heat of summer, because the grass needs to be actively growing to recover. Method 3 is the full reset, the one a professional reaches for when the lawn is genuinely wrecked. Deep trenches, severe slopes, the kind of thing where top dressing would take 3 years. This is the soil cut method. You strip the turf off in sections with a flat spade or a sod cutter. You regrade the bare soil underneath using screened topsoil, raking it to the slope and the level you actually want. You firm it down in layers so it does not settle later. And then you either lay the turf back down or you reseed. This is the most labor, but it is the only method that fixes the cause permanently in one season instead of chasing it for years. A sod cutter rents for about $70 to $90 a day, and screened topsoil delivered runs you roughly $30 to $50 a cubic yard. For a badly sunken trench, this is the method that actually ends the problem instead of postponing it. So now you have the surface fix, the compaction fix, and the structural reset, climbing from a $40 roller to a full regrade. But every one of those is treatment. You are still reacting to a problem that already happened. And that is exactly why I sealed the best part for last. Part 3, prevention. This is the approach the whole video was built around, the thing I promised at the start and refused to name, and here it is. Top dress your lawn a little every single year on purpose before it ever goes uneven. Here is why it works mechanically, in one breath. Lawns go bumpy because organic matter at the surface breaks down unevenly and the soil settles in patches. So a thin annual layer of fresh compost replaces what decays and keeps the whole surface settling at the same rate instead of in random dips. The exact material is screened compost, or that 60-40 compost and topsoil blend. Nothing raw, nothing pure sand. You apply it once a year at a 1/4 inch. That is roughly 1 cubic yard for every 1,000 square feet of lawn, spread thin with the back of a rake and brushed into the grass so the blades stand proud. Do that one thing each autumn, and you will never again face the $80 emergency, the wasted weekends, or the 6-week brown patch, which over 10 years easily saves you several $100s and a dozen ruined Saturdays. So which approach is yours? If your lawn is basically flat with a few annoying dips and scalping spots, you stay in part 1, the topsoil and compost top dressing at 1/2 inch, and you are done in an afternoon. If your lawn gently rolls and feels spongy or hard underfoot, you want method 2, core aeration plus top dressing in early autumn, because your real enemy is compaction. And if you have got deep sunken trenches, a slope that pools water, or ground that sinks back no matter what you do, you go straight to the full soil cut reset and fix the cause once, instead of bleeding money on top dressing every year. Match the method to the lawn you actually have, not the one in the advert. Now, once you level this lawn properly and the surface is finally smooth, you are going to run straight into the next problem, and almost nobody warns you about it. The moment you top dress and feed that soil, the grass in the repaired spots grows faster and greener than the grass around it, and you get patchy, uneven color and uneven growth, a lawn that looks blotchy even though it is now perfectly level. That mismatch is its own fix, and it is the thing that catches people right after they get the leveling right. So tell me where you are. If you are dealing with that patchy two-tone color after leveling, drop the word blotchy in the comments, just that one word, and I will know exactly what to cover for you. The next video breaks down precisely how to even out color and growth across a freshly leveled lawn so the whole thing greens up as one. Subscribe so it lands in front of you the day it goes live, because if you fix the level but not the color, you have only done half the job, and I do not want you finding that out the hard way next spring. Let me leave you with the one line that matters most. The thing I wish that floor associate had told you years ago. Sand fills a hole today and digs a bigger one tomorrow. Living soil, layered thin and fed every year, is the only thing that levels a lawn and keeps it level. You were never bad at this. You were just handed the wrong bag. Now you know which one to reach for. exactly how much to spread, and exactly when. And the next quiet Saturday morning with your coffee and your mower is going to feel a whole lot better because that low spot by the patio is finally permanently gone. And before you close this and head out to the shed, let me hand you a few more things that will save you from the mistakes I watch people make over and over, because the difference between a lawn that levels in one season and one that fights you for 3 years almost always comes down to small details nobody mentions. First, the timing of water. After you top dress, whether it is half an inch in a dip or a quarter inch across the whole lawn, you water lightly, not heavily. A gentle soak settles the mix into the grass and the soil channels. A heavy blast washes your fresh compost off the high spots and pulls it right back into the low spots you just filled, which means you undo your own work in 20 minutes. Set the hose to a soft shower, walk the whole lawn once, and stop. The soil only needs to be moist, not flooded. Second, the tool that changes everything. If you are doing more than 1 or 2 dips, do not try to level with an ordinary garden rake. Buy or borrow a leveling rake, sometimes called a lute or a level lawn tool, a flat, wide steel or aluminum head on a long handle. It costs around $40 to $70, and it lets you drag the top dressing across the surface so it falls into the low spots and slides off the high ones automatically. Physics does the leveling for you. Normal rake leaves ridges, and ridges are just new bumps waiting to scalp. Third, the order of operations people get backwards. You always mow first, slightly short, then top dress, then water. If you mow after top dressing, the mower wheels rut the soft, fresh soil, and the blade flings your mix everywhere. Mow short, so more of the grass blade stands above the thin layer, then spread, then leave it alone for a week and let it grow up through. Fourth, and this is the one that quietly ruins lawns, never level over the same spot twice in one season chasing perfection. If a dip is still slightly low after your first pass, leave it, let the grass fully recover and green up, and address it next time. Stacking layer on layer before the grass roots into each one creates that soft, spongy, disconnected soil that sinks again the moment you walk on it. Patience is not a personality trait here, it is the mechanism. Roots need time to bind each new layer to the one below it, and that binding is what makes the level permanent instead of temporary. Do those 4 things: water soft, use the right rake, mow before you spread, and never rush a second layer, and you will get a result that looks like a professional did it on a budget that barely dents your weekend.